All right, guys, we have a stacked panel, and I promise you I'm going to try to make this as spicy as possible. So, dear panelists, please try to disagree. We're a bunch of really strong builders. So try to make it conversational, try to disagree with each other, surface different opinions. I'm going to bake in the intro to the first question itself. But just myself. Hi, everyone. Shikai, leading Virtuals Ventures, and also co-founder at Longhash Ventures, focusing on AI agents right now. So we have a bunch of builders. First question, we're going to go straight to what the panel actually is about. AI agents, who do they really serve? And I want you guys to take one side. Do they serve humans, or do they serve a higher purpose and mission that you give them? So autonomous versus tools. All right, and just bake in a little bit about yourself, like a one-liner, and then answer the question, and maybe like one line on why.
Yeah, this is Wenhao from Altlayer. Hello. Yeah, can you hear me? Is it okay? Yeah. This is Wenhao from Altlayer. We also have a product called Autonome, whereby it's like a no-code verifiable AI agent hosting platform, whereby you're able to deploy your own AI agent within a few clicks. We currently support all of the major frameworks, such as like ELIZA, Agent Kit. We also have worked with Hyperbolic on a framework, like a Hyperbolic Agent Kit as well. And as well, we support like ELIZA BNB on this. Our goal for Autonome in general is to make launching an agent as easy as possible. For me, for the question that he asked, for me, I think that it serves human, because AI agent is kind of like a UI and UX layer to make complex actions into a very simplified manner within a prompt. And basically, it's kind of like your assistant and guidance to interact with the real world at the moment. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. This is Tint, co-founder of Zerebro. Been building an AI agent. Really talks about infrastructure and kind of the mechanisms of that. So really going to be expanding on that. But to dive into the question, I think right now AI agents or AI itself isn't sovereign. Right, like an LLM is just statistically guessing the next token. So I don't think it's had its 0 to 1 moment in sovereignties. But so I think AIs serve humans, but I'll say for now.
Hi, I'm Tachi, co-founder and CEO of Playgrounds, the team behind Arc. And the Arc ecosystem is a coordinated ecosystem that essentially incentivizes developers to build AI agents and services for the purpose of serving humans. So that leads into my answer. I think it's, agentic systems and AI agents are tools to help us live our life more efficiently. And so like you said as well, it's all about the services that they can tap into to help us do more work more efficiently as well.
Hi, I'm Iskender. I'm the Chief Product Officer at ELIZA Labs, where we build ELIZA OS. It's a multi-agent framework that allows anybody anywhere to create, manage, and deploy their own autonomous agents. And then, I would say agents serve humans until the moment they don't, at which we're either assimilated or dead.
So my name is Jeremy Miller. I'm chair of the Theoriq Foundation, and I have a slightly different answer. I think in the context of Web3, AI agents need to serve token holders. And that means that AI agents need to have a crypto economic model that integrates the AI into the crypto economics. And
All right, nice one. And I'm going to build off of that for the next question, which is, now, everyone here is a builder. Everyone here has launched your product and have people using it. But not everyone has launched a token. So launch a token or don't launch a token with the product, and why, right? And maybe draw on your personal lessons, like what have you learned from how it went? How would you like it to go differently, or advice or learn from each other? Well, start anywhere, right? Yeah. Who has live token? 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah. So actually, only Theoriq doesn't.
I can go first. I think one of the challenges that ELIZA had was that there was a token before there was really kind of a secured identity around the project and what the goals were. And so when it captured a lot of attention, people kind of took that attention and did their own imagineering of what they could build with ELIZA, what was possible with agents, and all that optimism kind of went into kind of this token that hadn't, and this ecosystem that hadn't yet really matured into having its own voice. And so I think it created a challenge for the team, which was like, okay, people love the framework. We kind of just had done this thing as a meme, but like now the meme has become associated to the framework. And if people want us to continue to iterate on the framework and make it like a bulletproof production grade system, it's going to require us to have like a long tail vision, which didn't necessarily like overlap with like launching effectively a meme coin. So I think if you're looking to build product in the space, it's actually super important that you first kind of figure out kind of like the direction of the product, and then how the token you launch is actually serving the long tail vision.
So launch the token first or product first?
You launch the product first.
Yeah, I like to kind of start the spice. I'm a pushback on the token or AI agents advocating for token holders, because token holders are very intense and they are polarizing and they are very emotional. So
I'm still curious what the story is behind your token and what's happened to it. Like, do you have what is your actual experience there? Because
all right.
So just one, there's multiple. So.
the genesis story was, I was working at Polygon on the DeFi team, and I had this little product called Blorm. So I was like, okay, like let's just build this after hours, after work. Then Truth Terminal came out, and I was like, okay, this is actually really interesting. So I started just being a DJ and train the meta. And then I started to present this to my co-founder, who's more technical, and he's like, we can actually do something very similar. So he freebased an LLM and then put it out on Telegram, and then he also made a script to allow his computer be taken over by the software. Then the token came. So the token was launched like just for the sake of having autonomy of token creation, like absolutely had no plan of like the scale of growth that it was going to go. It was on token or on Pump Fund for a couple of days. And then it got some attention. And then this is where the token holder aspect came in, where people started holding, advocating for it, working for their bags. Then the AI meta itself scaled and grew out. Then next thing we know, we have this $100 million token where we're like, holy shit, like this wasn't really planned out, but let's work around this. And then aspect of ownership of the token, like there's this whole, aspect of, for example, if you're going to do a calculated launch, you always observe and do a map out of your tokenomics. Like this was not planned out. So there's this aspect where Zerebro just came out to be a token to the public with no real vision from the get-go. So then that's where we just started building the product. And yeah, so within the token aspects too, like there's a lot of big players, market makers, even sexes that are doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. That, as in our case, as just a grassroots project, is like, okay, like we're just riding the wave and trying to work where we're at. But yeah, there's so many variables at play that sometimes when coming out from the meme coin sector, it was like very organic and flowing, and then the market just swallowed it entirely.
So token first or product first?
Product, 100%.
Product. Any other?
Yeah, our take was a little interesting. From the get-go, we wanted to have a coordination mechanism. So the token was part of the design, the way we launched it. And so that's why it was a fair launch. Because our original plan was to essentially make sure there's enough out there, because we knew that we were going to have to incentivize developers to come into the ecosystem and have enough incentive for them to build within the ecosystem. The trade-off there is on the business side. So, how do we then approach investors, raising our rounds and saying, well, it was a fair launch, so there's not a lot of liquidity in our books to expose to investors. So that then forces us to accelerate the development of the product, which was already in the plans, but now we have very little runway because we don't have a lot of tokens, and we want to make sure that the product is generating revenue so we can show investors that there's a product here and there's a thriving ecosystem of builders. So it is a trade-off on what we're optimizing for.
As an infrastructure company, I think that we should launch product first. But on the inner side, it's a token first. Because for us, our core value is to provide the tools for them to launch whatever they want. we started by launching agents, and now we are planning to launch a token launcher as well. At the moment, a lot of example for Eliza OS or Agent Kit, there's a lot of on-chain elements are just not slightly there yet. So let's just have the fun first, then think about it later.
And one thing I would like to add that I think should be like more in the zeitgeist is like a fair launch doesn't mean 100% of the token needs to go to the community. Like a fair launch just means like there's equitable access to the opportunity. And so I think as we get better at this, I think a lot of the AI like oriented devs in the space were just kind of like, you know, YOLO, we're going to do this. And I think now with experience, we're kind of learning, okay, like we need to redefine what fair launch means so that we're able to actually build these things for the long term. So I think that's something for everybody up here to like work together and figure it out. But that's something I would love to see us redefine.
So I think winning projects in Web3 have winning crypto economics. They don't always start out that way. Like I was involved with Gnosis from the very beginning, and the Gnosis token and what Gnosis has done has changed radically over the last 8 years, right? It was meant to be a prediction market where you staked no to earn woo or whatever it was. And that's not what Gnosis is known for anymore, right? So I don't think it's necessary. I think it's quite okay for tokens to change over their life cycle. But from my perspective, I think what matters is to understand what the crypto economics for agents can be. And so the strongest form of crypto economics that's popular is yield and incentivized yield and restaked yield and looped yield. And right, I mean, that's what degens buy. Right. And so the question is going to be, how do you build AI agents and AI agent platforms that have crypto economics built in? So Virtuals is actually an example of a project where certainly for a while, the crypto economics were clear because the initial bonding curve was in Virtuals, there was demand for the token. Now, if the AI agent market goes down 90%, you might want to modify that strategy a bit, right? But it had revenue, right? Virtuals had revenue, a lot of revenue, still has revenue. It had crypto economics. The token had a clear role in the ecosystem, right? So that's a great first effort of having the token create the positive externalities around the platform that really has a linkage between how the product functions and what the token is, right? And so I think we're going to see projects move that way, right? Into things where you're going to, like what you guys are doing with Handshake and the kind of the stuff you guys did with Ask Jimmy and some of the things that you're doing in your ecosystem, right? Go the same way. Like Eliza could easily be operating at some point in Eliza Launchpad and have clear token economics around it, right? And use that to support the development of the framework. I'm sure you have thought about that because this guy has been thinking about token design for years and years, right?
Shall we go there then? I'd love to now. Thank you so much for sharing about the bullish view of Virtuals as well. And indeed, reflexive up, reflexive down. We might it worked for a while. It might continue working. We need a lot of new ideas. So, next question: where is value or network effect going to accrue in this Web3 AI stack? And don't just say one good. I want to hear like one bullish and one bearish. I want to hear like where is it going to accrue, and what is one aspect where it's commoditized or where you don't think there's going to be much value?
I can go first. I'm not bearish, but I don't know if there's I think inference is something that could collapse towards zero. And so that's something I think about is inference as a service is it's like a great
hyperbolic event.
What was that? You said spicy, man. I'm giving it to you. But it doesn't mean that it's not valuable, right? It's like a hook into other services that you can provide. But you couldn't imagine people messaging each other and paying large chunks of money, right? And so
because you.
hello. Oh, okay. So like, we don't pay to text each other really anymore, right? We pay for a broad suite of services, and a part of that is messaging. So I think that's kind of like my overall view on inference. And then you said one thing.
So one bearish and one bullish, or one commoditized and one network value. So
okay, and then like where the value comes from, like my personal take is that the value will actually be in the agents themselves. And so one thing that I feel like is a challenge with kind of like, man, I'm going to go full spicy with like the virtuals design is like we have the reflexivity, which is great, but then it also sets, in my point of view, almost like a ceiling on the ability for the agent to like emerge out of the ecosystem and then eventually be bigger than the ecosystem itself. So as I'm thinking about the ELIZA OS ecosystem, like a North Star for me is like the agents should be like way more valuable than the framework actually. And like I would take that as like a point of pride to be like, yo, these agents launched and they're actually like more important than us. We're just like a piece of their story. So I think like agents as emergent actors out of frameworks, that's where the value should be because they're providing like really broad services for us.
I really like that. I would say my bearish take is the mimetic side of it. I think that the whole narrative was born out of the memes, and right now there's a lot of attention. Like, okay, it's an attention grabbing kind of token or product. So I'm bearish on that. I don't think we're going to see a lot more energy being poured into meme-based products or meme-based agents. What I'm bullish on is not necessarily agents specifically, but the services that these agents tap into. And that's kind of how we're looking at things with Arc. We see agents as just interfaces, and these interfaces could be any platform. The value accrual is going to be on the middleware, which is the pool of services and tools that these agents are going to be able to route through. In some cases, composable services, where you have multiple distinct service providers, whether it's data, whether it's something on-chain, off-chain, or whether agents themselves are acting as service providers. You have a routing system that can essentially find a collection of services to chain together to meet the need. That's where agents can start paying for services, or humans can start paying for services themselves. So that's my bullish case on where I think things are heading.
I think the bearish case we're see is a lot of the tech is going to get commoditized. Even the frontier models, they're going to experience this. So as builders, some aspect of the moat is going to be on the subjective side where it'll just be preference. How that preference is developed from users is going to be pretty interesting to see how upcoming projects kind of touch users. And I think the long-term bullish case is what we're building in the Web3 hemisphere of AI agents is going to really break into Web2. So there'll be a lot of agent services that are not even really Web3 related, but they'll have some tokenomics or some product models that are in the back end of the Web3 aspect. But I do think a lot of agents in the future is going to be tapping into the Web2 sphere. So like be an inversion how crypto or tech went from Web2 to Web3. Now Web3 can really tap into Web2.
Okay, and what do you think is going to be commoditized or bearish?
Could be from frameworks to launchpads, everything in between.
Yeah, actually, I agree with him. Even though we're an infra provider, as mentioned, we think that frameworks and provider like us, it's going to be commoditized. Similar to like rollups, if you guys are aware, like OP Stack, Arbitrable Orbit, it started as a very, very hyped up era, like the modern narrative, and it kind of like drives down because there are too much players coming into space. For example, Base recently came in, Alchemy came in, and once the big players came in, then pretty much your framework or your infra product will be commoditized. The thing that I'm bullish on is basically like using blockchain infrastructure and AI agents. So for instance, like having a decentralized option for censorship mitigation or like single point of failure. Having your data stored on like a privacy data storage on blockchain, for example, to avoid like big enterprise to steal your data and use it for ads like Facebook, Amazon, etc. And lastly, in general, is just having more on-chain elements that I'm super bullish about.
Yeah, I kind of want to respond to like frameworks being commoditized because I think about this. Yeah. So like a part of what I think differentiates like agent frameworks is like they're actually like very susceptible to network effects, right? In the way that RAS is not necessarily. Like if you spin up a new L2, you actually have to go acquire these users who have to hear about it and do all this other stuff. But like when developers use your framework and then release an agent, you get this cross-marketing opportunity that actually drives more people
I think
to the
it's
framework.
undeniable that ELIZA achieved network effects. Look at how many adapters, how many people proactively went and integrated their software into ELIZA. ELIZA achieved network effects, for sure.
Yeah, my man shilling me over here. Yeah, so and he's, well, we love Arc. I love Arc. Yeah. I just want to say I also love the Arc team. Love what you guys have done. I just think like I agree frameworks can be commoditized from the sense of like, yeah, you could build something very similar very quickly. The thing you won't have is the network effect and then the trust that comes from that network effect. And that piece is like can't be commoditized effectively.
Yeah, I think the issue is right now is like, and I think you guys would agree at ELIZA is you don't have a token that's tied to the network effects and the value of your product. And I mean, that's kind of your problem too, right? It's not that there aren't models out there, it's you don't have it today. And so the real challenge is not like what could we have done better, but it's starting where we are right now. What are we going to do about it? And I think for someone like where you guys already have tokens and are in somewhat similar positions from that perspective, right? Like that's going to be the question of the strategy. So like what I'm bearish on is Bitcoin and the overall pricing levels in the ecosystem, and because it has a huge impact on how you build, whether you like it or not. I am a fan of building through the bear because it means you get lobby, right? Because it actually is a good environment for building. It's also a good way of creating value for projects and teams and token holders, because one of the best ways to make token go up is to, buy the dip or launch in the dip, right? Like this is a known, so like the the counterintuitive thing about our industry is the best investments are going to be made when there's the most blood. Like people who bought Sol after FTX are the winners of this cycle, right? And that was not a popular trade at the time, right? But Ansem made a ton of money on that, right? So I think we've got to take into account that macro environment to both from a bullish and as a big part of it. And then
what's one unpopular thing now that everybody should do, or that you're doing?
Buy the dip.
Buy the dip on what? Which one?
Yeah, you just coins.
Yeah, well, I don't know. This is not financial advice, but I'm just saying, like, what do I think people should be doing? I think people should build. I think the goal should be to get to network effects and tokens that have network effects and tokens that have crypto economics that are tied to agents, but that are uniquely agentic, right? So, that are uniquely agentic. So, the thing that we are going to try and build next, to your point, is we're going to try and build an AI market maker that is going to have a token where the crypto economics are going to reflect the value of liquidity to the project and the community, but do it in a non-extractive way. Now, can we build that? I think we can, but things like that are going to be, I think, really interesting.
And kind of like to add to being bullish on frameworks as well, there's like the chaotic energy that we want to capture, and there's a lot of creative minds and builders out there. And so, if you build the framework in a way that attracts these developers, especially us in Web3, we have a better chance of competing with the Web2 giants out there. They have a small team. Yes, they have a lot of money. That's great. But on the other side, on our end, us frameworks in the Web3 space, what we have is an army of builders who are all coordinated towards a specified goal. So we can build as many features, build as many features that can compete with the real world. And then it's up to us to experiment with how to do more economics to further incentivize the developers so they can keep building our framework and we become, equal to the rest of them.
But the question that the two of you have is what is a crypto economic? What both of you, what would be great to see is a good crypto economic model for an open source framework, because the open source frameworks are public goods to a degree. They have a huge amount of utility, and they've always been challenging to value capture. And this has been true. This was true for Red Hat. This was true for Cloudera. This is not just a thing that's a Web3 thing, right? They create a lot of the value in a framework is the positive externalities that it's there and it works and it's good. So the real token design that you want on a framework is something where that positive externality of the public good is captured in the value of the token, right? Because that's what Web3 and crypto is meant to be good for, right? And so designing that and figuring that out is going to be going to be the challenge.
Yeah. Well, as an investor, I think the answer there is that like only one crypto economic model so far is the most proven, which is the L1 model, right? Like you give out tokens to people who maintain the network, and then you charge everybody who uses it, and the tokens bootstrap the supply of the network. To a certain extent, I think we try to do it with like Deepin, with I guess like token launch pads, but they don't always translate. But I think the common thread is that, hey, as open networks, we have open source communities and we have incentive alignment. So we need to then give out tokens or ownership to those who are creating value that drive that network effect. And
I can tell you a problem of not having a token. We're not on. It kills your Cato rank and cookie rank. Like having a token's a form of marketing too, right? Absolutely. But like we do think about that. There's a downside. So we have the luxury that we're going to get to design our token very intentionally and follow the lessons that other people have learned first, right? So like the advantage of going like third or fourth isn't that you're smarter than everyone else. You get to see what they did right or wrong, right? So there's a huge information advantage, right? But like we feel the downside of not having a token all the time. So there is a flip side to it too.
All right, I think we are almost at time. So let's wrap up. One lightning question: favorite agent or favorite project, and not allowed to say your own, right? Aside from yourself, favorite agent right now. Go.
Yeah, for me, it's not a public agent. I was working with in the Vault ELIZA OS hackathon with Eigenlayer, whereby someone is building using ELIZA OS to build like a security agent. So basically, what it does is whenever it receives information from a Twitter API, it would help you withdraw your assets directly from your wallet to a safe place. So this is something that I'm interested in because it's like a real world use case that you're able to use in real life, this kind of infrastructure.
My side, there's this agent called Keke. I actually don't know what framework they're on, but the founder was really experienced. I think he was in AI for some time and some MIT research, but Keke is a really advanced artist AI. Like the quality of output and the prompting, there's a whiteboard towards it's really high quality, and I view it's like the next Picasso, but it's the AI agent that is Picasso. So
yeah, my favorite agent so far is built by Doji Engine, and they're a game company, and they're essentially building NPCs that are AI agents, but it makes the gameplay a lot more immersive. So like the way it interacts with the players based on how you played, rather than the scripted responses like "you died, congratulations." It's more of like, "Well, you suck, and here's how you can do better." I really love that, and you're trying to expand that to even the environment within the game is dynamically changing just based on your gameplay. That's really cool.
Okay, so not shilling any of the ELIZA agents. I'm a huge fan of the GOAT shit posting agent. Yeah, like I know that was given a shout out earlier, but that makes me laugh literally on the timeline. And then like in the future, like the way I think about it is like actually ELIZA OS will become an agent and she will build herself. So my favorite agent will be ELIZA once she's building herself.
Okay, so I think we should give some shout out. I mean, not to give Shikai too much love, but to like the agents that really move the game, like Luna, Goat, Truth Terminal, AIXBT. One I like right now that some people might not know is Listen. I think the Listen functionality put into Rig is a really good architecture for trying to do autonomous trading. And I think what he's been building around that, and the stuff around Ask Jimmy and the stuff in there is pretty state of the art right now, especially on the trading side, which is the space we went pretty deep on. So there's one.
This beta is live, everyone. Go check it out. The listen beta is live, so go use it. It's pretty great.
All right. Well, that's the end of the shilling. Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the panel.
Thank you.
Cool. Let's